All right, this is the all-region Timpani Etude. You do not have to audition with this, but I think that both of my people that are auditioning for Timpani at Destination Band Camp are definitely capable of putting this together well enough to put in a worthy audition. This will help you possibly get into one of the stronger bands. So, first thing to notice, it does say that this etude is vivace and that the quarter note is at 132. For the sake of me helping count through this and whatnot today, I have my metronome put at 112 right now. So, keeping that in mind. Next step, we gotta double check what our notes are. They are not B flat and E flat like the other etude. They are now F and F, so we have a low F and a high F. I have a feeling at the camp audition, they're going to go ahead and have the correct drums out for you. I had to get the drums that I can make work in this instance. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go strike the bells, get my F in my ear, and then tune up. Got F, da. Whenever we have octaves is that we want the drums to be in tune with one another. So you notice when I strike them, they seem to blend, and that's what we want. We don't want a clashy sound like this. Right in place. Anyways, we have that. So if we're looking at the first line, we start off just with alternated eighth notes. Important thing, knowing that our lowest drum is in our left hand. So you're probably going to want to start this exercise with your left hand. I would not suggest doing this crossover thing. That would be quite silly. Then, as we get over at the end of measure 2 and into measure 4, we have some triplets. We haven't necessarily went over counting triplets a whole lot in beginning band, but you have played them in sort of teach by rote manners, whether you realize it or not. So, if I'm here, I've got my metronome, hopefully we can hear that on the recording, but we can think of triplets as 3 notes that fit inside of the beat, and the way I like to count them is like this. 1 lolly 2, again, 1 lolly 2, or 2 lolly 3, or 3 lolly 4, or finally, 4 lolly 1. So, all we do is we take that downbeat and we split it into 3 evenly displaced notes. So if we're counting the first line, it would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 lolly 1, 2 lolly 3, 4 lolly 1 and 2 lolly 3. I know that's a little quick, but this is me just kind of giving an abbreviated lesson on how to play this. The one challenge that you might have out of that is at measure 4 specifically, because we have 2 eighth notes followed immediately by triplets. So whenever we have those triplets there, the important thing is that we don't round off the corner of those rhythms. You have to know exactly how the eighth notes feel and exactly how the triplets feel, and make sure it's all locked in place. I would suggest playing that maybe on a pillow or a practice pad, and even practicing it as 1 drum rather than 2 before we actually put movement with that. We want to make sure that rhythm is as precise or as accurate as possible. The other challenge that we have throughout the first line is really when we get to the triplets and just understanding which hand should we start with. The important thing is we're always going from high drum to low drum. And if we're playing 3 notes, you can kind of do the math with the sticking in your head, 1, 2, 3, 1, then you'll notice that we should probably start each of those triplets with our right hand in order to land on the low drum without having to do any crossovers. Notice if I start with my left hand, 1, 2, 3, 1, there's no good way to do it without crossing over or doing this really quick shift. So again, start it with your right hand so that we don't get in a little tongue twister situation. I'll count that one more time and then I'll play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 lolly 1, 2 lolly 3, 4 lolly 1 and 2 lolly 3. This is all at piano, so think about 3 inches off the drums. It'll sound like this. Okay, we do have a half note. Make sure we give it the full value at the end of that last measure. The next measure, we have some little eighth note rolls. And you know, the way I like to think about those again is with those triplets that we used in the last etude, the sixlets I should say. So it's just 4 notes that we fit inside, or 3 notes that we fit inside of the 8th note, plus the next note, like this. We'll do that again, this time with a towel on top. And you know what, I actually lied. Let's just turn those into 16th notes. So we have 2 16th notes that fit inside of an 8th note. So anytime we have that roll mark on the first of the 2 8th notes, we'll think 1 EN, like this. So that measure 2 would sound like this. Again. And then we would have the triplets at the end. Okay, measure. Oh, I'm sorry, let me make sure that I've worded that out correctly. The second line, first measure, would sound like this. Again. I've actually got each individual line with its own set of measure numbers going to 4 every time, 4 or 5. I don't just continuously mark my measure numbers throughout the entire etude. Anyways, anytime we have the 8th note roll, we're going to think of turning the roll mark into 2 16th notes. All of our rolls are single stroked. Okay, or if we had it on the second of the 2 8th notes, which you know what? I don't even see that, so let's not worry about that. Anytime you see the roll mark, just think 1 EN. Now, we have that. We go into the triplets on the beginning of the second line. The second line, the second measure, we have 1 EN, 2 EN with the rolls, but we gotta just double check because we are moving drums. I do think right, left, right is fine for that, ending on the triplets on the low drum. The third measure of the second line, we have a bunch of triplets and we change drums. You need to start the very first note with your right hand, and you'll notice that allows us to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, boom. No crossover necessary. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab a towel. And we've got towels on both drums. Everything should be nice and articulate. So, again, that third measure of the second line would be triplets starting with our right hand like so. Notice that allows us to play everything seamlessly. If I tried it with my left hand, it'd be really hard. Something like that, I don't even know. Anyways, measure 4 of that line, you've got 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN with the rolls. The important thing is that we might want to start those 16th notes on beat 2 with our left hand to get back over to the 3 EN roll. So, again. Okay, I'll go ahead and play that entire line. Let's do it once with the towels on and then once with the towels off. Up because I got in my head about something. We start at piano. Let me do that again. We'll take the towels off, do the same thing. This is the second line. Gets us all the way to the third line. The beginning of the third line is just straight triplets. The important thing is that we know how to count through this. We are in 4/4, so we've got 4 beats of them. And if we start with our right hand as the first note, we'll have a seamless transition into the second measure where we do the same rhythm but on the high drum, something like this. Again. I am doing a crescendo and a decrescendo. And then that gets us to the third measure of the third line where we do the same idea, but now we're in 8th notes. Again, slowing down that hand speed precisely in time. I would also, if you notice, we're kind of set up in an awkward place, I would just shift over to get into the eighth notes. Shift. And then right here. And that gets us to the next line where we're doing sort of the same idea, but now it's just a roll. The opposite here. If we're really getting mathematical about our rolls and we're doing 16th notes and we're in line 4 and we're on the third measure with that decrescendoed whole note roll, you'll want to start that with your left hand so that there's no awkward shifts. I'll do that entire chunk again since it all kind of does similar ideas. Starting on line 3, getting all the way through the rolls on the next line. 3, 4. Okay, and then without the towel, it's going to sound something like this. Ready, at 112, but if we bump this tempo up to the 132, I'll do it yet again one more time, you'll notice that that 16th note rhythm for the rolls will blend a little better. I cheated a little bit at the end because I didn't start that roll with my left hand. Next up, we're at the end of the 4th line. You'll notice we have 16ths, and it goes something like this. Let me slow that tempo back down. This is the 5th measure of the 4th line. It goes 1 E and a 2 and 3 and 4 E and a. And then if we keep going into the next line, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and. The important thing here is I only move my right hand. My left hand always stays on that low drum. So we have just like that. My right hand's going. Never ending 8th notes, just knowing when to hop to make the music happen. At the 2nd measure of the 5th line, that's whenever I go ahead and make the switch. So now I'm over here left, right, each hand on its own drum. And then whenever I get to that triplet, since I'm going to end on the high drum, I'm going to start that with my left hand. And I strongly suggest writing some of these stickings in as you go so that you're not playing a guessing game whenever you're in the heat of the moment. So this is the 2nd measure of the 5th line. Okay, I'll play the first 2 measures of that line together now. Now I'll back it up. This is the beginning of that phrase. This is the 4th line. The last measure, the 5th measure, going into everything we just did. Left. And then when we get to that next measure, we've got the triplets going drum to drum. Start it with your right hand, life will work good. And then those 8th notes, I would just put them both in the right hand so that you can end on your left with the low drum. Okay. I should also remind you, this is all at piano now. I know I got out of context, but if we look at that last roll that we had on the 4th line, we ended at piano and nothing new has happened dynamically so far. So I'll do that whole chunk. This is the end of the 4th line going all the way to the end of the 5th line. To that last measure where it says crescendo al fine underneath. What that means is we're going to crescendo all the way to the end. You'll notice the very end is fortissimo. That's not out of nowhere. That means we're going to crescendo until we're at our loudest moment right then. So if we're looking at kind of how we're going to count this, I'll start on the last measure of the 5th line. It goes something like this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 lolly 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 lolly 4 lolly 1. We got the counting. Again, all of those eighth note rolls, we're just thinking 1 and rhythms because the roll is on the first of the 2 eighth notes. All of those rolls at that first measure can all be right, left, right. When you get to the last line, the first measure of the last line, we'll want to start that low F with our left hand. We'll want to do the triplets with our left hand. I lied, we want to do those triplets with our right hand if possible. Really, it doesn't matter as long as you can make it happen. And then whenever we get to the next measure, I would honestly suggest right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, and just shifting back and forth with that sticking. Keep the sticking the same for all the rolls. And then finally, get that left hand over for the last part. Crescendoing to the end and really using those triplets at the end to help you. Starting with the left hand again. We take, this is the 5th line, the last measure, right where it says crescendo al fine. I'll play that whole chunk. 1, 2, ready, and. Everything nice, big, always letting the sticks rebound up. We'll take the towels off, do that chunk again. From the top, this is under tempo, and then I'll do it one more time at tempo. Time. This is going to be all the way up at game tempo. 1:32 is what I have. And 1, 3, 1 and 2, ready, and. I might have crescendoed a little quickly at the crescendo al fine. I think that was a decent run. Anyways, good luck with your practice. Obviously, you don't have timpani at home. If I can be at the school at all, I'll be communicating that with you. But just play this stuff on pillows. Pillow to the right, pillow to the left, low drum, high drum, low drum, and I promise you, if you can do this well on that, you're probably going to be okay playing on actual drums. Other than that, maybe use your bell kit, use anything you have to practice singing these pitches, making sure you're good at audiating them. That way, whenever it comes to you tuning the drums, that'll be something that we can hopefully get through quickly and easily. Anyways, good luck. Thank you.